Quick, while Tenna's away, let's break on through to the other side. Also, this was a really neat find. And Suzie, watch out! So real quick, thank you all so much for your support. I am trying to go through all the comments to show my love and appreciation, but as some of you may know, one of my adopted nephews is heading off to college soon, so I've been grinding to get him everything he needs. And during my free time, I've been secret collecting since the game's release. And now I feel confident enough in making a large secrets and Easter egg video for Chapter 3.
Challenger!
This video will assume you're aware of the sword route and the egg room, so I just want to acknowledge those more well-known secrets, while hopefully having some more details you might not have known before watching this. Alright, enough intro padding, let's start. First off, there's already a few special flags at the start. Some might know about Suzie yelling at us for walking. And also inspecting the couch can skip the entire intro sequence if you've already played the game. It does make you dive straight to the first board game skipping the naming sequence, so be careful. Also, if you leave the room and come back, you can see the couch making a break for it at Chris' walking speed. It leaves the room, but it cannot be followed. But now I do like to check up on this sneezy fella at every new playthrough. When we finally meet Tenna and walk across the first stage, you can backtrack and find Star Walker. For those who don't know, you'll have to trigger him all the way back in Chapter 1 to unlock his hidden cameos. He's shown up at the best time since then. A lot of people are aware of the naming reactions at this point, so I'll go through them quickly. Suzie will love it if you name Chris ass or tit, and even butt or bum. Also, I love how Rousey blushes. Surprisingly, pee or poo gets you auto-filtered, and if you get auto-filtered twice, then your name is forcibly filled in as bad. You can also go with cry, so Tenna can say don't cry, or curse for a no cursing joke. And ah makes Tenna think you're already screaming in excitement. If you go with Ral or Sus, short for Suzie and Rousey, then Tenna will just joke that things will get confusing. I've tried other variations, but they seem to default back to Tenna joking about her spelling. At the start of the first board game, did you know you can drink the Oasis 8 times to dry out the board? This forces the weather duo to attack you immediately. And this is actually hinted to us by a zapper later on in the game, who hangs out by the water cooler. Interestingly, if you lose the fight right as Elnina and Lenino start to argue, if you come back, they mentioned they had just made up until we walked in on them, and cue the fight again. There are some changes that occur with the dried out board, like rescuing Lancer without the croissant. And when Suzie steals the power croissant from us, you can stick around to see her rightfully bully Rousey and toss him into quicksand. You can even see the Rousey plush in the corner sinking as well. Also, poor Rousey, if you try to cross the bridge of rocks without the croissant, then he tries to act as a shield for Chris. But he canonically sucks at video games at this point. Suzie also shows some sword route tendencies by abusing Pyramid Tenna if you have no cues. And also, if you wait by the cactuses long enough, you'll see her wish that there was a cool weapon or something, like a sword. On my previous Z-Ring video, I showed that you can wait an especially long time to complete the block pushing puzzle, but what I didn't know is that by not moving whatsoever, Suzie throws yogurt in our face. But also, Rousey solves the puzzle for us. I also mentioned how the game has a special cutscene if you don't push block Rousey. Or plushie. But if you do keep pushing him, then you get a bonus line of dialogue. Look how flustered he is. In the aforementioned Z-Rank video, I showed a reaction to getting every question wrong, including Lancer's name, which Rousey also gets wrong with us. I assume it's to not make Chris feel bad for being wrong. because if you wait long enough for each question, you can see Susie and Ralsei try to answer on their own. And Ralsei does answer Lancer's name correctly on his own accord. Funny enough, they still get Chris's favorite food wrong, even though Chris coughs to give them a hint. But also, did you know that Chris also does the same thing at Asriel's favorite fighter question? It's lesser known because we're already highlighting the correct option. And also, for a particular quiz question, if it's Wednesday, the option for Wednesday gets changed to Thursday, so you could still be the only one wrong. In a Shadow Guy battle, if you draw out the fight long enough, then you get a unique instance where their attack pattern is censored. Also, I find it interesting that Tenna is telling someone to stop selling tickets made of toilet paper, which can be a reference to Sans selling tickets made of the same thing in Undertale when you're doing the concert bit with Shiren. And finally, right before you enter the smaller pyramid within the temple, Idle and Ralsei will wonder if a smaller pyramid waits inside. And if you go inside and go down one room, you'll find Real quick, I just want to give a shout out to my friends who developed Code Bunny. I was given a review copy last year, and since then the game has received several updates. It's even been ported over to Steam and a Nintendo Switch. It's just a cool little indie platformer, and I went out of my way to buy some copies for friends. I hope those interested can check it out. I left the trailers in the description. I wasn't sponsored or anything like that, I'm just showing my support for indies because, well, that's what this channel is intended for. Alright, back to the video. Back in the lobby, if you interact with the TV, then you and Susie can play a game. If you don't press anything, then Susie makes a comment about that. If you do press buttons, she'll joke saying that we're playing like we can't see the screen. But did you know you can actually beat Susie? If you'd like to see how, I linked Null and Void's video showing the visuals in the description. Also, if you still have shadow crystals on hand, you can examine it now and see that Chris sees an image. Now in the B-Rank room, there's a gacha prize room. It contains certain items like glow shards, and if you get Toby, you know the dog, then you get a dog dollar. Also, fun fact, you can get Lancer as an item multiple times, even after he's been turned to stone later on in the game. But also, if you put in 1225 points, the game suddenly takes a mysterious turn. Ralsei and Susie disappear, and a door appears in the gacha machine. If you go inside, you're taken to a strange labyrinth where the song Lost Girl plays. You can even walk off the path and see that the room loops on itself, but keep exploring and you can find a smaller gacha machine. I'll let you read the dialogue. Now there is a rank better than S, and that's T. With it, you can access a hidden room to the left of the other ranked rooms and find a bunch of Tenna doing a T-pose. There is a book to the left that you can read, and if you want you can pause here to read it all, however it appears to be a joke, but who knows. The book does update if you get T rank on the second board, and it's much faster to read because... literally Tenna. What's funny is that by doing extraordinarily bad, you get the Z rank room, where we get some contextual lore. Inside, you can see a phone dangling off the receiver, just like in Spamton's shop in Chapter 2. And the posters here reference two stars meeting, and their smiles seeming so bright. I honestly headcanon that this is Tenna's way of giving Spamton a room as a bit of a vendetta, you know, in case he ever shows up. And also the manhole here leads to the secret beta levels room, you know, the sword route? Yeah, that's what the manhole was there for. I kept checking back and forth. I'm so glad I figured that out in a Z-Rank video. When doing the sword route backstage, you get a glimpse of the logo silhouette before an error comes in. You can see this same logo before starting the first board game when you're playing with Tenna. You can even see a sword in what appears to be the word Mantle before it cuts to Tenna's ROM hack. In the sword levels, you have to kill enemies with a sword until you level up enough to clear out objects on the screen. But if you go back to the room where we found the sword, you can see a tree blocking a path. Clear it and follow it to find a room full of entryways. Go inside any of them and you're taken to a room where you see the silhouette of the Mantle running away, and they left behind a hidden message. See you soon. What's more, if you clear the path to the left or right of the temple entrance, you can find even more secret rooms. One contains a hidden pair of eyes, and the other a smile. Back in the green room though, if you pay 500 points, you can play a minigame called Suziezilla. It's a cute little time waster, and at the end, after you beat the Spamton boss, a seemingly endless wave of enemies rush in to destroy Tenna. But did you know you can clear out the post-game wave? Yeah, you can actually save Tenna too, and... Never mind. Also kudos to Gillette, whose footage I'm using because, seriously, I genuinely tried, and after spending more time on this than the freaking Roaring Knight itself, I yield, they're the better gamer. Now on to the second board with the camera. Here you're supposed to take a photo of Lancer to buy him for 9 points, but you do get a special dialogue if you buy him at full price. Not waiting on a Steam sale for you, buddy. You can take him to the spring where he pulls a dig dug and carves out a path for us. You can then walk through this dug up path, and inside is a bonus room with points. You just get a little scene of Susie lifting Rouse to grab the points out of reach. Also, be sure to enter this room. It's one up at the starting point and going to the right. Cross the waterfall before progressing too far, because it's the only time you can consume the almighty moss. Aw yeah, perpetuate the 8-bit cycle. In the room with the pizza deodorant, if you stick around long enough without grabbing it or the ribbon, then you can watch Susie, playing as Chris, gaslight Rouse into wearing the pizza deodorant. What a nerd. Later, when you get the raft, you can take it to this heart-shaped island where a rave starts. And then the trees fly off. Aww. A cute detail, if you take a picture of all these diggers in the sand, then they start to dance in circles and form hearts. Aww. If you examine the binoculars, Susie tosses it in the ocean. You can look through it again while on the raft, but... don't know what you were expecting. Going to the western side shows another hidden island for a lawnmower minigame. You push the mower and get points for it. It's cool, but if you keep going north, then, well, this happens. And then the area becomes blocked off by a line of signs. But did you know you can go past it? When the board is about to end and the lovers meet with rules, Tenna leaves you all unattended. You can take this opportunity to backtrack to the raft and unlock a lot of unique dialogue. I'll skip the empty parts for your reading pleasure. I did go back to the Lawnmower Island and saw the minigame no longer activates without Tenna. Also, the two Pippins notice the boss is gone, and they dip. Literally. And nothing special happens in the Tropic of Love. Going off the beaten path to the northeast, you can find a hidden island blocked off. The tree blocks you from going forward, and if Tenna was with you, he would just cut himself off, before telling you what the island was for. But after clearing the board game, you can go backstage to play another sword level. And now we can ride the raft at the cave that Tenna blocked off. You can go back to the Lawnmower Island and find a hidden cave with a message, telling us to go follow the northern light while a strange tune plays. But if you go back to the heart-shaped island in the southeastern side, you can destroy the tree and find a hidden room that leads to Game Tenna talking to himself. I'll show the clip unnarrated. Skipping ahead to game story, when Tenna has everyone trapped to force them to play his game, once in a while, we'll end up alone in a Suziezilla game. Then Golden Tenna comes running in from the distance, and suddenly... Once we get to run around in the Overworld, you can find a room where Lancer is hoarding controllers. Did you know you could just plug them back in and dig up the X's for some points? Also, if you see the water cooler room, don't try to run away, because they will mob you and show no mercy. Star Walker. Did you know Rousey can jump during the cowboy minigame? Look how happy he is. You can also check the menu before progressing too far and see that Rousey is a horse in the power menu. There are a couple of secrets in this large room full of quizzes. All the way in the bottom left, you can interact with the static image to find a bonus zone full of chests. It's got a couple of cool cutscenes where everybody is robbing Tenna of the prices we saw in this introduction movie. But also if you move on to the next room, you can see a special cutscene of him hoarding a Peppies, an egg-like item from Chapter 2 courtesy of Spamton. You can acquire the Pippin, and it can only be used outside of battles. Rousey and Susie refuse to eat it, but Chris does. However, if you enter this room with the Dealmaker armor, which can only be obtained in Chapter 2 by sparing Spamton in his Neophyte, the puppet scarf won't trigger it. Then you get a new cutscene, unnarrated for your pleasure. There's also a second hidden room in this large TV area. Inside are two cages. You are presented with a moral choice. Love or hate. If you're on a weird route save file, then hate is automatically chosen. Later on, when you're fighting Rule's card, after acquiring the Lanceract, you can idle and see that his icon changes to a dog. And if you select it, well, here's the full clip unedited.
Challenger.
Now, another cool detail that I thought started in Chapter 4, but actually starts here in 3, if you keep using Suzy's Ultra Healing, then it actually improves. It's still very impractical, but hey, it improves up to 85%. Now, I'm not going to detail how to access the egg room since there are plenty of videos on that. Look at that, Undertale's runaway animation. But I do want to mention that in Man Country, if you talk to the Rudens, they mention that Chris colored them in as extra aces to cheat, which I find interesting since to get here, you have to confess to being a cheater to a zapper. Also, the questionnaire for the egg, this reminds me of the Forgotten Man in Mother 1, where you also have to answer a series of questions correctly to get the man to move out of the way, by making him phase out of existence. Right before you go backstage to play the last sword level, you can access a hidden hallway that leads to Ram's stand. There's not much to it, you can watch Suzy and Rose play video games. Fun fact, if you skip the sword stages, then you'll see Ram is getting petrified here, and a Pippins is there to give a bit more background. I don't want to get too much into it, but I linked the video in my description in case you want to do some more reading. Finally, for the third beta stage, the Mantle gives an extra couple lines of dialogue if we're on the Snowgrave route. As for the scene where Suzy walks in, a lot of people may know that you can control 8-Bit Chris by holding the D-pad or the arrows. But did you know Suzy can kill 8-Bit Chris? Just make sure little Chris is out of range while going through Suzy's dialogue. Then when asked if you're having fun, say no, and... honestly based. But also it's kind of funny how if you tell her you love video games, then she'll joke, telling us not to end up like Birdly, and tells us to stop making bird sounds, implying that she can hear the sword swing each time we press a button. Also, 8-Bit Chris always leaves right before Suzy can notice. And if you're curious, nothing changes with Ram if you kill 8-Bit Chris. They still seem to be dragged away by something. Now, during the Tenna fight, supposedly if you check on Tenna with the Dealmaker equipped, we're supposed to get some unique Spamton dialogue, but I tried multiple times at different phases of the fight, and I got the default message. I even tried with the other Spamton armor, the Puppet Scarf. Did any of you get this? Let me know, I do read the comments. Finally, during the Roaring Night fight, if you get killed during the last attacks, then you get a bit of encouragement from the narrator. But also, if you manage to not get hit throughout the entire battle, then we get a special line at the end where Chris coughs and the knight tilts its head. Chris coughing seems to be a theme here. Now, this is spilling onto Chapter 4 since we can't access Castletown in the entirety of Chapter 3. but I want to cover everything on the basis of the Roaring Night. Back in Chapter 2, when you give Shum 2 Shadow Crystals, he was going to give us a Shadow Mantle, but unfortunately it was already taken. Maybe it was the king because something that looks like the mantle flies off his back. However, if you manage to defeat the Roaring Knight without the Shadow Mantle, you'll have special dialogue. Anyways, that's enough for this video. I don't want to be arrogant and say this is every secret and Easter egg because I didn't want to cover every little reaction either, like Rouse being called priceless, even though that's true. No, you're wrong! But I did want to wait enough time to hopefully find and include newer and lesser known details and Easter eggs, so hopefully Chapter 4 Secrets and Easter Eggs video will be comparably more complete. Anyways, thank you for watching.